Welcome to Femme and Furious, a podcast where pop culture meets a feminine framing. I am your host, Julia Rose Portella, and holy shit, there's a lot of stuff happening. So I am officially affiliated, though not being represented by, just to clarify, with Creative Edge, which is a PR company. And so I will be hosting people that are represented by this firm on my show for the duration of the year. I'm like really excited about this. Plus, I have been getting inundated with people who have been reaching out to me with their works to come on the show and talk about their platform in some way or another. So I am really excited. It feels like the podcast is like expanding and I'm trying my very best to keep up with it. I'm probably going to have to add some episodes, maybe every other Wednesday, to be able to keep up with all of the content. I also have been trying my very best to read as much as this is demanding of me. And it was my personal mission coming into this year to like fill my pop culture gap. So I am in the middle of like watching Buffy all the way through, which I've never seen it all the way through. So I'm doing that. It's on my list to do Star Wars this year. It's on my list to do Narnia this year. The Lord of the Rings. Some of these fandoms that I know about or have dabbled in, but like have not gone all the way through. I'm like deep in Westerosi history right now. So I am trying to balance like my personal pop cultural goals with a lot of the stuff that has been coming in. And I just thank you so much for being patient because the podcast is growing and expanding. It's all due to you. I love you guys so, so much. And this has been such an incredible journey. And I don't know, I'm just thrilled. There's like a lot that's changing and growing, and that's a good thing, but I'm trying my very best to keep up with it. And it's a fucking challenge, if I can be honest. So with that said, today is a new type of episode that I will be doing throughout the year. This is a segment that I am calling Femme and Now. And what we are going to do is look at movies that are turning 20 this year, which there is like a really great list of movies in the pop cultural zeitgeist. Some that have remained quite relevant, some that have not. Obviously, if you've seen the title and clicked into today's episode, you know that we are talking about High School Musical today. So before we dive into our East High deep dive, let me tell you how you can support and follow the podcast. You can subscribe anywhere that you get your podcasts. You can watch full video breakdowns on YouTube. You can also get full video breakdowns and transcripts on Patreon and on Substack. If you want more pop culture analysis, stuff that I'm doing or watching or consuming or reading, but can't get to on the podcast, that analysis and things that are on my brain about that are over on the Substack in like long form articles, or they're not that long, but you know, in articles. And if you want more community driven, fun, sort of quick hits, that's over on the Patreon. There's a free tier, which has all of the episodes plus daily prompts and stuff like that. And there is a paid tier. It's the Two Femme, Two Furious community. You can also follow the podcast over on TikTok and on Instagram. There is now just one single link that will bring you to all of these links. So there is just one link that you need to click in the show notes that will bring you to any of the stuff. So if you're looking to see where you can connect with Femme and Furious, that's all down in the show notes. Make sure you check it out. All right, let's get into our Femme and Now episode. High School Musical. It is written by Peter Barsaccini and it is directed by Kenny Ortega. Little recap, little summary, okay? On their winter vacation, two teens, Troy and Gabriella. On their winter vacation, two teens, Troy and Gabriella, are forced into the teen club, which gave me absolute teen trauma. Some inclusive resort, we don't know where they share a song over karaoke despite the fact that no one has ever heard of this song. So it would be nearly impossible for them to know the tune to be able to sing it, even if they knew all of the words. Despite that, they lose touch after their one magical evening, only for Troy to discover that Gabriella is a new student, coincidentally, at their school. But wait, oh no, They're from different worlds. Gabriella is a bookworm and Troy is the star basketball player. And so they find common ground by auditioning, against all odds, quite literally, for the Spring Musicale, where they go head to head with a super incestuous pair of twins, Ryan and Sharpay, for the leads of this musical. When their primary engagement, the science decathlon for Gabriella, the championship game for Troy, falls on the same day as callbacks, they literally have to have the entire school come together so that they can, wink, wink, break free from the societal norms that are keeping them apart. So let's take a hot girl historical walk into the past and examine some of the cultural context of High School Musical and how it left its mark on pop culture. The year is 2006, and you are sitting down in your purple bedroom to do your favorite thing, watch a movie. Your remote is in hand, your Beanie Baby is by your side, and you turn on your microscopic TV and turn it to channel 31, the Disney Channel, where your remote becomes your faux wand as you recite the commercials by heart and pretend to draw the little sideways Mickey Mouse that appears on your screen. Tonight's a big night. It's January 2006, and High School Musical is making its debut. What you know is that it's Friday, and by Monday, this will be the talk of the school. What you don't know is that this is a cultural phenomenon unfolding before your preteen eyes. The origin of this movie is a little odd. The movie was written for Barsaccini's daughter, who consequently is also named Gabriella. Weird choice, but whatever. At this moment in time, musicals weren't really in. Animated musicals, which were popularized by Disney, were definitely still dominating the landscape. However, Disney was just starting to get into testing the waters on the Disney Channel with musicals. So there was a musical episode of That's So Raven. There was also a musical episode of Even Stevens, and you know it because we're all still singing We Went to the Moon in 1969, 1968, but a year later. In your head, every single time somebody talks about the moon landing, and you're lying if you say you don't. These two musical episodes opened the door for the Cheetah Girls, and that eventually led to the development of High School Musical, which was pitched to Disney versus being developed in-house. High School Musical then opened the door for Hannah Montana, which aired later that year in March of 2006. It opened the door for other musical movies on Disney Channel, like Camp Rock, The Descendants, and Teen Beach Movie, which I realize are all Disney originals, but truly High School Musical carved the path for live-action musicals in a mainstream way that hadn't been done in a while. Sure, there was Chicago in 2002, which was formative for me as a text to my childhood, and there was also Moulin Rouge, which aired the year before in 2001, but most notably from that movie was the song Moulin Rouge with Pink and Christina Aguilera, Lil' Kim, and every other femme pop artist from the early aughts. The song was more pop culturally relevant than the movie. With that said, just 1 year later in 2007, after the success of High School Musical, we have Across the Universe, August Rush, Enchanted, which was another formative text for me, Hairspray, which of course starred Zac Efron. We have Once, Sweeney Todd, and Walk Hard. So while I'm not going to say that High School Musical was the direct impact of these musicals being made, I am going to say that the most notable live action musicals from the year before it was made in 2005 were actual musicals, The Producers and Rent. High School Musical became so popular that Disney started airing it weekly. I remember this vividly in my brain. The album for High School Musical went 5 times platinum, and the song Breaking Free reached number 4 on the Billboard Top 100, though all of the songs from the album, every single song, was on the Top 100 over the course of the year. It was the first full-length movie to be available for purchase on iTunes, and this property became so successful for Disney that they went on to release High School Musical, the junior novel, which became a New York Times best-selling book, and remained on the New York Times bestselling list for 16 weeks. The movie won not one, but 2 Emmys, and there was a concert tour which included everybody but Zac Efron, who was filming Hairspray at the time. I remember this distinctly. I was not able to go with my friends, and I remember being really freaking bummed about it. And I also remember that shortly after the movie came out, it was adapted to a play, which had like its own little tour. But then I know by the time it was like 2008, like I was in the middle of high school, at this point, high schools were starting to do High School Musical as a play, and we didn't do it. And I was also really bummed about that because I was a theater kid, true and true. Of course, High School Musical led to High School Musical 2 and High School Musical 3. It also led to Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure, and later down the road had High School Musical the series, which was incredibly meta, though it had 4 seasons, none of which I watched, though I know that Olivia Rodrigo rose to fame because of her role on the show. Obviously, the High School Musical franchise launched many careers. Most notably, I would say, is Zac Efron, though Vanessa Hudgens would maybe be up there as well. High School Musical had major nods to Grease, and it was even rumored to have originally been pitched as Grease 3, though there's no like definitive evidence of this on the internet, just a bunch of Reddit threads and like Reddit theories. At the end of Grease, all of the characters sort of pair up at the end of We Go Together, and they start singing We'll Always Be Together. You're getting a lot of my non-musical talent right now. They say goodbye and they head off screen. Now, in Grease, because it was a play before it was a movie, the movie does this as an homage to curtain calls that take place during stage shows, which, if you've never seen a stage show, you've never been a part of a stage show, at the end of every show, there is a curtain call. It is where you go out, usually in pairs or in groups, depending on like how important your character was to the show. But oftentimes the named characters will go out in pairs and they will take individual bows and they'll take bows together and then they will kind of go off to the side. It's usually a whole moment in a production. Okay. So Grease, the movie, has this like nod to the play or this like homage to the play. And in the end of High School Musical, as the credits are rolling, you can see the characters are pairing up and saying goodbye as they head off screen together, which is obviously a nod, a wink, and a bow, perhaps, to Grease, which is sort of the original High School Musical. As far as movies go, this movie is about as camp as it can get, but it's maintained its cultural pulse 20 years later, and so we give our hats, our love, and our kudos claps to High School Musical. Let's pop open the time capsule where we will dive into our superlatives for this movie. For superlative. Could have been your aim away message. This is for the best quote or line. And I personally think it's by Sharpay, who says, "We need to save our show from people who don't know the difference between a Tony Award and Tony Hawk," which just took me way back, right into the moment, being in my cousin's basement, playing the Tony Hawk video game. Just a beautiful, beautiful moment. It's a really funny line. And I think Sharpay has a lot of like comic relief, even though I think it's completely unrealistic in like normal social circumstances that the theater geek is going to be perceived as the bully of the school. Maybe dramatic, but definitely not a bully. The theater kids are the ones that get bullied. I don't even know if I want to say they get bullied. Like, I was never bullied in high school, so, or if I was, my skin was thick enough to be like, I don't really care. I just was myself, and I like had people I didn't like and I had people I liked, whatever. It didn't really matter. I think this is so funny though, because like theater kids keep to themselves. It's like a very tight-knit community. It feels odd to me that they just make Sharpay sort of like the bad guy of the movie. Anyway, the next superlative is the slay and the side-eye. So this is our feminist wins and our feminist faux pas or fails. The slay is that Gabriella is a bookworm. She's a science nerd, and knowing that this movie was written for Barsaccini's daughter, who's also Gabriella, I was wondering if any of her own personal interests like were filtered into the character, but even if they weren't, I love that Gabriella is very multifaceted. She's artistically talented, but she's also academically talented, and she's kind and she's smart. And I think it's a really smart choice to have a leading lady who can do many, many things. My side eye is Taylor, unfortunately, as an entire character. I've got a bone to pick with her. First and foremost, I hate tropes that happen in like this early aughts time period. Even maybe before this, but specifically in the early aughts. This like the smart girl versus the cheerleader, and how the smart girl has this moral superiority. I really, really hate the scene of Taylor and Gabriella walking through. Gabriella's kind of like, I'm interested in Troy. And Taylor's basically like, you and everybody else, look at these cheerleaders go absolutely wild and gaga over even just the mention of Troy. And number one, like, what a shitty thing to do to your friend who's saying that she's interested. And also, just making it seem like you're too smart to be brainwashed by a boy, which is not what's happening at all, and is putting cheerleaders down. Like, I don't know, just, I don't like girls against girls. Like, either we're friends or we're not friends, which is fine. Not all girls need to get along. But I hate like the trope of like the smart girl being morally superior or better in some way than the cheerleader, and making it seem like there is a good type of girl and like a stupid type of girl. I just can't stand that, obviously, because I host a feminine podcast. But not just that. That's not my only bone to pick with Taylor. That would be one thing. Fine. Maybe we could let it slide. It's not great, but whatever. Where Taylor really fails me as a character is that she sets up an entire plan to berate her friend that she's just met. They're not friends. They've not been friends for long. She absolutely berates her for having a crush on a guy that she met before she ever came to the school. Troy and Gabriella had a connection, however quick it was, way before, not even way before, but before Troy and Gabriella existed as classmates. She then, Taylor, devises a plan to get Troy to say bad stuff about Gabriella, live stream it to her in a public setting with other people around, not just the two of you, like other multiple people that have to witness this, make her cry. You see that she's welling up and that she's upset about this. And then she's like, we're all going to go have lunch. Do you want to join us? No. Obviously, she doesn't want to join you. You're not a good friend. This is not something a good friend does. And if you are nervous because somebody doesn't want to join the decathlon, like maybe you should just respect somebody's choices. She's just transferred. She's trying to make friends. She's got multifaceted interests. You know, she wants to join the musical. She's interested in it. And there is this like claim of like, you can only do one thing, which I get. Okay. Because later on we see that all of these, you know, interests kind of conflict as far as like the date goes, but that's just a tension point. That's not reality. And obviously it's a fictional show and it's a fictional universe, but just like what a mean thing that this is to do. I will say like Sharpay wanting to win and be the lead of the musical is less criminal to me than your supposed friend literally setting you up to make you feel like shit. I think Taylor is my least favorite character on a rewatch. And I don't think that this is like a good example for young girls, you know, whatever. I know I wasn't thinking about it that way when I was younger. I certainly wasn't talking about it this way when I was 13, talking about it with my friends. But as a 33-year-old woman now, looking back on it, this is like not your friend. Somebody who pretends to be your friend and then does really mean things for their own personal gain without any consideration of your feelings. Does she apologize for it? Yeah. Does Chad apologize for what he does later to Troy? Yeah. But does that make it any better? Like, these two people are not good friends. That's my side eye. The gay gold star. This is our queer icon, and it goes to Miss Darbus. I know that Ryan is here, and I know that there was conversations between actor that plays Ryan and the creators of this movie about whether or not he was gay and whether or not Ryan was gay. And I know that they agreed upon Ryan being queer coded, but not explicitly say that he's queer, as if Disney was ever going to take that chance and do that anyway. They weren't. But I know that as far as like the gay gold star goes, that feels like it could belong right to Ryan. So I want to just throw him in there. But I have to give it to Miss Darvis because I don't know if it's the pronunciation of musical. I don't know if it's the chunky jewelry. I don't know if it's the fact that Allison Reed was in a chorus line. I just love her. I think that Miss Darvis, even though I don't necessarily love all of the choices that she makes in this movie, particularly in like trying to not have Troy and Gabriella get the part, despite the fact that they're like good and deserve it. She is the best character in this movie. She is camp. She has incredible lines. She's funny as like a theater kid. This is peak theater comedy. She has a line where she says, "This is where the true expression of the artist is realized, where inner truth is revealed through the actor's journey." It's just brilliant. They do something here by overemphasizing the theatrical nature of her that is really, really funny to me. So I'm giving the gay gold star, our queer icon, to Miss Darvis. The bare minimum. As in, does this pass the Bechdel test? And the answer is that it does. It does, only because Gabriella and Taylor discussed the science decathlon for like a second. So just barely. It just barely gets the Bechdel test. Vintage shopping. Let us reminisce about fashion. We have the sparkly scarves. We have the BlackBerry and the Razor phone. I know that this is not necessarily fashion, but I'm throwing it in there because it's an accessory, right? It was an accessory to our outfits, especially if you had a Razor phone, you could have those Razor phone charms, which I did have. Zac Efron swoopy hairstyle. Also not fashion, but again, there was at one point, it was not a juicy sweatsuit because it didn't say juicy on her butt, but sort of like a knockoff juicy sweatsuit that Vanessa Hudgens is wearing. But I think the vintage shopping that I have to give this to, like, let's go to the mall type of energy, is Sharpay is wearing a cropped sequin jacket. It's a short sleeved jacket. It's cropped and it's got like the big chunky sequins. That took me right back. I was right there in 2006 when I was watching that. So thank you to Sharpay for giving us that vintage shopping experience. Top 8 on MySpace. I'm giving this to Kelsey. I think Kelsey and I would have been friends. I think Kelsey is a great character who doesn't get enough screen time. Kelsey is most notably part of my favorite scene, something that will work for me every single time I see it, which is an audition scene. First and foremost, she wrote the music, so that's incredible. But we've got all these different people that are auditioning. We've got the off-key and overacting person. We've got someone who's monotone and doesn't know the words. We've got like the wink, the cheeky person who's offbeat. We've got the operatic singer, to which, again, my queer icon, Starbus, is like, Sindra, what courage to pursue a note that has not been accessed in the natural world, which is very funny to me. I had to pause because I was laughing. We have a lyrical dancer, no singer. We have the people that are doing the performance art piece of the music. And then we have the freezes or stage shy person. And Kelsey is seeing them through all of it. Kelsey has a vision for her show. She's obviously musically talented. She has a backbone. She is not afraid to state how she thinks that things should be. And she's kind. And I love this. I love her as a character. So she would have been on my MySpace top 8. I would have been friends with Kelsey. She's cute as a freaking button. The J14 centerfold, or canonically, if you listen to the podcast, our honorary heartthrob. This obviously goes to Troy, who really is a man written by women, despite the fact that he was a man written by men. He's kind, He's charming. He doesn't judge his friends. Like, he's got another friend on the basketball team who's like, I like to bake. Zeke comes forward and is like, I want to bake the best creme brulee. And he's like, great. I love it. Like, he is so encouraging to his teammates and to the other people around him. He's doesn't put Gabriella down at all, except for literally the time when he's trying to prove to his team that this is, that he's committed to the basketball team. His dad comes in to blame Gabriella and he takes accountability. He's like, it's not her fault, it's my fault. He takes accountability when him and Gabriella get into a fight. They don't get into a fight, but he's like, yeah, I said those things, but listen, I was just trying to get my friends off my back. I realize that that's not like the right way to go about things, but I want to do this with you. And then he's got, this moment where they go to sing and he encourages her. He goes, look at me. It's like kindergarten, right? So he brings her back to this moment where he's like, it's like the first time we met. It's like kindergarten. Like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this together. We're going to have fun. And if we don't get the leads, it's fine. So I just think that Troy was written really well. And I think Zac Efron plays him phenomenally. Have you tried therapy? Okay. I have a couple of different contenders. Let's start with Troy's dad living vicariously through Troy. He tells Troy that Troy's not just a guy. And you want to know what? Troy's dad, if he even has a name, I don't remember what it is. Troy's dad is the biggest fucking loser. Sorry, but he is. I don't mean that there's anything wrong with staying in the same place, because we just did a whole podcast on Stranger Things and Steve becomes a teacher in Hawkins and a coach in Hawkins, and that feels so correct for that character and so important for that character. So sometimes it makes sense for a character to stay where they are. Troy's dad, I'm just telling you right now, Troy's dad's a fucking loser. That he's still in the same place coaching basketball, living vicariously through his son, reminiscing on the days when he was the star basketball player. You are completely irrelevant to anyone who's not your team if you're Troy's dad. Even the fact that he says, like, I wish I could suit up and play alongside you. It's like, you're an adult. You've grown up. You're no longer in high school. This is the epitome of peaked in high school. And men, TM, give me absolute ick. Going with also men is Chad. Chad being the worst guy that you know at a party. Especially, he has this line where he says, I don't try to get into the minds of females. It's a terrifying place. He's judgmental. He is not a good friend. And he's like the first one in the status quo where he like doesn't want his friends to be anything other than what they are, in a way that's really frustrating and annoying and obviously part of the plot, but just like, go away, Chad. This, by the way, has nothing to do with Corbin Blue, who I love. Last, though, have you tried therapy? I'm giving it to Ryan and Sharpay, because being a pair in musicals is fucking weird when you're twins. Most musicals have romantic leads. Most musicals have a romantic plot. The fact that Ryan and Sharpay would audition together to be the leads of any musical is so weird and so incestuous. I do not care that Ryan is queer coded. It's never explicitly said, but he's supposed to be queer. The fact that Ryan and Sharpay would be pairs together in all of the leads of these musicals is disgusting, incestuous, and they should go to therapy. Okay, would have been your ringback tone. Now, we have a few contenders, so I'm going to go by all of the songs in the show because I think they all deserve their own space. We start High School Musical off with The Start of Something New, which is a great song and probably one of my favorites in the movie. Upbeat, it's fun, it's promising, it's hopeful. We then have Get Your Head in the Game, which is a perfectly fine song. It's choreography and the fact that they're doing all of this stuff with the basketball sounds is more fun than the song itself. We have What I Was Looking For, which we have like the Ryan and Sharpay version, and then we also have the Gabriella and Troy version. Both are great. We have Status Quo, which is, again, amazing choreography. It's really good in the cafeteria. It's very meta. Gabriella and Taylor are like walking through all of these people singing and dancing and like bumping into them and acknowledging that they're singing and dancing. Like, what is this? So I love that. Then there is Gabriella's solo, which is When There Was Me and You. I don't like the song. It fits into the movie just fine. I don't think it's the best for Vanessa Hudgens. And there's also this ginormous Troy decal that she's standing next to and like touching. And it's weird that the school would have a decal of Troy that's this big. It's fucking weird. Then we have Bop to the Top, which is an absolute iconic song. Iconic song. And then we have Breaking Free. Did I cry when Breaking Free happened and everyone was there supporting them and standing and clapping for them? Yes. And then we have the last song, which is We're All in This Together. Obviously, this has been imprinted into your brain if you watched the Disney Channel to be able to do this dance from start to finish. Though I would say if I was picking a song now that I would give a ringback tone, I would say it'd be Breaking Free because it's just great. If I was going back to 2006 me, I would have picked Bop to the Top. Bop to the Top is a fucking bop. It's so good. It's great. And I love the way that Sharpay and Ryan do it. And then our last little superlative here is Rest in Peace in 2006. I would like everybody to just close their eyes. Unless you're driving, then don't close your eyes. And have a moment of silence for our beloved Newsy Cat. We gather here today to mourn you, or perhaps to process you, at the very least to acknowledge that you did happen. You were dawned upon many a famous head in the year 2006. Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, Jessica Simpson, Ashton Kutcher, Brad Pitt. Even Harry Styles joined the party. Need I go on? You were omnipresent, unavoidable, and you slipped into paparazzi shots like an uninvited plus one. You were competing with Low-Rise Jeans, Von Dutch, and Ed Hardy, yet somehow you reigned supreme. Everyone loved you. Or, at least, everyone wore you, which, in that era, felt synonymous. You are a testament to the time, an artifact frozen in amber, or more accurately, trapped forever on someone's SD card, photographed at a slightly crooked angle by a silver digital camera with the flash forced on. A fashion choice made without irony, without hesitation, and without a single person asking, should we be doing this? In High School Musical, you enjoy a prolific eternal life. You appear at least a dozen times, most notably perched upon Ryan's head, committed with full sincerity, though you also make surprise appearances on Sharpay, which feels narratively correct, and on Kelsey, which feels more like collateral damage. Newsy Cat, you were the epitome of camp. A fashion faux pas and a timestamp all in one. You took theater kid energy and ran with it straight into the costume department that said yes when it should have said no. You went from being everywhere to being nowhere, disappearing almost overnight, leaving behind only a vague and unsettling memory of the early aughts. A time of MySpace top 8s and side bangs and confidence that outpaced our judgment. We do not wish for your return, but we cannot deny your impact. You are woven into the cultural fabric, a stitched-in mistake that we must all collectively live with. You are gone, but never forgotten. All right, so here's our final verdict, the legacy score. Cultural impact, 10 out of 10. We still talk about it. It had a TV show spinoff that impacted a whole second generation and brought up a whole another group of people that are famous because of it. So we cannot deny its impact. 20 years later, it still hits. The rewatchability, 7 out of 10. It was nostalgic to rewatch it. Would I sit down and rewatch it because I love it and I think this is the best movie I've ever seen? Definitely not. But the nostalgia bumps it up. And the music is good. It's not so bad. The feminist resonance, 3 out of 10. It's not the most feminist piece of pop culture that we could connect with. And it could have a deeper feminist impact if it was made perhaps today. The nostalgia power, 10 out of 10. All right. That is our Femme and Now episode. Let me know what you think. I'm not really sure what the schedule for this month is. I'm still trying to figure it out because I have so many different people whose schedule I'm now working around. So the next Femme Now, I can tell you, is going to be The Devil Wears Prada. So if you want to rewatch that ahead of us talking about it here on the podcast for this segment, that's great. I'm not sure what's going to come out on Friday. I'm hoping to see The Moment, which is the Charlie XCX mockumentary sort of movie. But I can tell you definitively next Tuesday we'll be starting Mistborn. We are doing the epilogue and part 1. And we'll have 5 episodes deep diving into each segment of Mistborn. So each week we'll be doing a different part. Until then, until Friday, with our mystery episode, I invite you to join the newsletter, Lipstick and Lore. Send me all of your thoughts to my email at femmeandfuriouspod@gmail.com. And until Friday, BYE!